Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
Planetary exterminatus is imminent. You now have 15 hours to reach minimum safe distance.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Stephen Fore, and Mike Haspil. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's happening, everybody?
Hey, everyone, what's going on?
So this is our big Adepticon X-Men oversized annual edition.
More length and girth than ever before.
We are back. We've got three fantastic guests lined up for everybody this tonight on this podcast. So let's we're definitely going to get into some tabletop market watch. Of course, I guess no need to really talk about the Death Guard and stuff. That's kind of old news at this point, besides the fact that everybody seems really excited that they're coming out. There is also some really cool dwarf models coming out that I think everybody's talking about, but it seems like everybody's on edge about the whole Age of Sigmar 8th edition changes. You know, what could it mean for my game? Should I get out the lighter fluid and light my army on fire? What are you guys thinking? Just, real quick before we, kind of jump into everything.
I want to give some advice to people who are going to rage quit and light their armies on fire. The Chaos Gods only care if they're fully painted. So if you're gonna bust or light up some stuff that's primed, don't bother. They don't care.
No one cares.
Yeah, and for everybody that does want to light their armies on fire, please contact me personally if you're gonna light NIDS, AdMech, Sisters, any of that on fire, and just sell them to me at bargain basement prices. Yeah, absolutely. Skaven. Let's not even get it twisted. Any models that are painted that look halfway decent, that you didn't paint with finger paint, there's only one person's finger paint that I trust, and that's my own. So you just sell them to me at a quality price. Man, let me tell you what, guys, the heels are off. Matter of fact, as you can, maybe we talk about later, the lady heels, since that is a thing now, the lady heels are off at Adepticon. It was an amazing trip. It has turned into not a weekend long thing. It is a week. It's literally 7 days. That's how long we were gone.
Literally.
It is the one of the best weekends that I try to look forward to. And you want to know what? I don't know what is in store for 40K. We reminisced the entire way back, or some of the 15-hour drive back, talking about all the additions before. A good buddy of ours, James, was riding with us and hadn't been playing as long as I. Juice, how long you been playing? I'm like, right at like 15, 16 years, And he's like, we started breaking down 3rd to 4th, 5th to 6th. What were the changes? What this and this? And I was like, nothing in my mind could truly drastically change so much in such a negative manner as 6th did for me. They got rid away from. They gave us pre-measuring. Excuse me. They gave us random charge distances. They got. I'm talking about just stuff that just put a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I hated it. I couldn't stand it. Couldn't. Whatever, and nothing could be worse than that. 40K is at an all-time high for me, so I'm pumped. Whatever they got,
your initial, feelings of 6th edition, and some of those new elements brought into the game. You're like, now here we are in 7th edition, and we are riding high.
Yep.
Playing more 40K than we've ever played before. More excited about the hobby than we've ever been before. More models than ever before. It is, So literally, if you're freaking out and you think it's the worst, whatever, go hate somewhere else. Go be loud.
Go play Magic.
Go play Magic.
You know what I'd do is I'd quit all gaming at all general, and I'd just be like a bowler or something, and then contemplate your life every Wednesday night. Yeah.
Or X-Wing, you don't even have to paint the miniatures.
Turns out the pins in bowling are OP, though.
Yeah, pins are bowling. The 10 pin is an ass. But Haspil, I want to definitely, because we're not going to beat Adepticon to death because we're about to have over an hour and a half of interviews about how much we loved Adepticon. But I just want to start the show right here with Haspil is a machine.
Mm-hmm.
You guys an actual machine.
Literally more machine than man. And he, obviously you guys follow him on Twitch, and he built the Adepticon display. You saw the pictures. We got 100, perfect 100 on theme at Adepticon, and we made it into the showcase. Everything he set out to do, we did. Now that's nothing compared to also having to run our biggest second annual Long War Doubles event with over 120 people, 60 teams. He ran that thing. Haspil, you did all the paperwork, all the editing, all the spreadsheets, bro. I mean, big thank you, bro. Like, you literally, we couldn't do the Long War without. Every person matters here, but I felt like 2017 Haspil kind of mattered the most.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. That means a lot. Seriously.
Yeah, that's not almost. Haspil is definitely, you're that side of the duct tape that keeps the world together. The sticky side, like
sticky side, yeah.
You know,
you had me at hello.
We might be like the colors that somebody buys the wallet, or, you know, like, oh man, that duct tape wallet's blue. I really like that. But like, at the end of the day, if you don't have that other side that holds everything together, all you got is just graffiti.
It is. Haspil, does it feel good to be a gangster?
Yeah, it turns out it does feel good to be a gangster.
I want you to know, Haspil, that is like,
Dramatic
that will
pose.
be your official call sign. Gangster.
Yep.
That is it. After that epic story that you told us earlier, like, there can only be one, and it's Haspil.
Yep. Well,
Spelled with an A, of course.
I guess time to do actual content before we go on an Adepticon parade. What you guys got?
I have something huge, like huge.
Are we talking length, girth? What kind of huge are we talking?
Bigger than this
everything. Okay, so yes. So here it is. Like, say you've always wanted to read the Horus Heresy, but man, there's a lot of books out, and I don't know if I want to pay a lot of money for them. Well, you guys might have heard about a Humble Bundle, right? That's where you go in, they donate all this stuff to charity, and you go in, you pay what you want, right? You don't have to pay up for what it is. So the Black Library stepped up and threw down the Horus Heresy in this Humble Bundle book, or book bundle rather. You got 13 days, 14 hours left as we're recording. Obviously, by the time you're hearing this, probably going to be closer to 13 days. I'm going to run this down for you because this is insane. It is about $376 worth of digital books. If you pay $1, 1 American denarii, right? You get Horus Rising, False Gods, Galaxy in Flames, The Flight of the Eisenstein, Fulgrim, Garo, Oath of Moment, a Black Library sampler, and Talisman, the Horus Heresy Prospero expansion for Windows and iOS. That is an actual game, right? So now let's say you're like, well, that was $1. Like, how much more can I give to this charity? How about $8? You give away $8, right? You get Descent of Angels on top of the other stuff. Descent of Angels, Legion, Battle for the Abyss, Mechanicum, Tales of the Heresy, Garo, Sword of Truth, that's an audiobook, the Horus Heresy digital wallpaper collection, and the issue number 0 of Will of Iron, that's the Warhammer 40K comic book. So now let's say you're feeling baller, you got $15 to give away. You're going to give away $15, you unlock the following things: Fallen Angels, 1,000 Suns, Nemesis, The First Heretic, Prospero Burns, Garo, Legion of One audiobook, McCragg's Honor, The Emperor's Will, issue number 1 of Will of Iron, the Warhammer 40K comic, a 75% off coupon for the Battle of Talon. You heard us talk about it on the podcast about it's a iOS and Windows game covering the Horus Heresy Battle of Talon, mostly a tank game, turn-based strategy, and a 33% off coupon for Battlefleet Gothic Armada. That's for $15, guys. Like,
so you're telling me the 3 scratch-offs that I'm going to buy tomorrow, I could not do that and get all that shit?
And get all that stuff.
Damn.
Like, I own a lot of this, and I'm going to pony up because I don't own them digitally. So it's like, oh, well.
It's so unbelievable to me, like, when we actually mean, like, what is $15? Some people might be like, man, you really want $15 for those dice? Oh, you really want $15 for the charity for all that shit? Bro, let me put it in perspective, you cheap bastard. I spend $15 every morning on a scratch-off, 2 gas station hot dogs, and some 5-hour energies.
Yeah, no lie. You most of you guys listening spend $15 at McDonald's.
Yeah, like come on, bro. Like that is unreal.
And this is for a good cause. It's supporting a UN refugee agency. So it is.
And where
for
can
a
we
great
go
cause.
to check this out?
This is on humblebundle.com, book bundles, and then you look for Horus Heresy presented by Black Library.
I would like to also report that there's 186 results if you want for the search term cat. If you would like to add your own cat charity.
That's super important information to have, Rob.
Yeah, that is true. You can add, you can choose your own charity. You don't have
I mean,
to
you can search for anything. You don't have to search for cat. You could search for dog
But you wouldn't. You'd search for cat.
I mean, I think we all know where I'm going with this. But, if you want to search for anything, it's in here. There's like thousands of charities in here that you can select from, not just cats.
Word. Well, okay. So now that we got the books out of the way, is there anything?
This is a great deal that just came out today.
No, it's a phenomenal deal, and it's augmented only by the fact that it's charity. So what else? That means that is that literally okay, guys. Cool. This
Right. Now there's actually some stuff coming out. Of course, last week while we were at Adepticon, the Talons of the Emperor box set came out. That's that great $362 retail deal for I think it's $262 for $150. That's the Custodes, the Sisters, Land Raider, the Contemptor Dreadnought, and of course a Rhino. So great.
Wait, hold on a second. Go back again. What is this deal?
It's Custody Squad, Sisters of the Battle Squad, Contemptor Dreadnought, a Land Raider, and a Rhino, plus the 2 little mini codexes. You get a codex for the Sisters, a codex for the Custodes, and their instruction manual, of course.
So this is a Hyundai 50 for 250 street value.
I think it's 262 street value. I want to say it's like stupid good money. Like when it comes to savings, there it isn't for charity; it's for your hobby charity. But
it's for my hobby goals.
Right.
Get my gains and my beat slab.
Hobby squad goals there. Coming out this week is 3 of their new tools. It looks like a new blade knife, hobby knife with a hobby saw that's uses the same shaft, so to speak. Some tweezers. They have some Blood Bowl minis coming out. The orc side of the starter, along with the.
Oh, I heard about how good of a deal those hobby tools were. It's like $30 for all of them, right, Rob?
$32 for a X-Acto blade.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, but then you get the other 2 though.
For an additional $32 and $12.50.
Did you say that you get a X-Acto blade with uranium tipped blades that will never dull for $32?
Obsidian, the sharpest material on earth.
Yeah, the handle is made with a rare blend of ivory and unobtainium.
And of course the Harry Potter like Phoenix feather embedded inside of it.
If you want to believe that, yes, but no, it just says Citadel on the side.
Word. Okay, GW, come on. Come on.
I did it. It's I don't know. I'm looking at them and I'm just like, I can't wait to get these in my hands and try to figure out what.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna buy it because I'm addicted to your brand. But I'd like to see a tier 2 of that.
Yeah, like
it's like
can we bring it down?
It's like, bro, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna give you that eye and that glare as I'm buying it, so you know where my head's at. Like I'm a little pissed off, but it ain't gonna stop me. But I want you to know, it might stop me sometime in the future. I don't know when that would be, but you know where I'm at.
I mean, I feel like that seam scraper or mold line remover, I believe they call it. It's a technical term, is an amazing tool. And for $20, I feel like it's a great value for what you get. But I mean, an X-Acto blade is an X-Acto blade. Like,
yeah, literally, they don't make them. They're all the same.
Or do you need, I need a daily driver on that. Like, I don't care about the Cadillac model. You know what I'm saying? So
they all get super dull within 5 minutes of using them. They're all the same material.
And you're guaranteed to cut the crap out of your thumb when you
will slice your shit.
Yeah, 100%. It don't get higher than that.
Okay, so we got any other good deals?
Yeah, there's a couple of computer things, but I'll see if Rob has any more actual tabletop stuff first.
What was it? We were finishing up the Blood Bowl stuff. So the what is it? The Blood Bowl, the orc half of the Blood Bowl side So you don't have to buy the starter now. You can just get the squad that comes in it. So if you want to buy this Blood Bowl starter and say you want to play, flesh out your orcs, now you can just buy this $35 orc team, and you have all the models you need to spruce it up. But wait, there's more. There's also a troll model. Troll. That it's not the push fit. It's actually like the multi-part kit that we've all known to come and love. And it's a good value money-wise for what you get. It's pretty cool little dynamic pose doing the whole Colossus throwing Wolverine kind of thing. He's kind of chucking a goblin down the field. So the fastball special. But I think it's cool. And this week's releases are,
I believe it's called the Speedball special.
Oh, is it a Speedball?
Someone fact me on that.
It's been a while since I read.
No, it's a fastball special.
Suck it, dude.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, Haspil's never been wrong, so I'm taking that.
Ever in the history of ever. So coming out, well, I guess going on pre-order this weekend is the Shadow Wars Armageddon and the new Blades of Khorne Battle Tome, which looks to be a new way to play Khorne Demon / regular Khorne in Age of Sigmar. And it says that there's like blood type points in it too. So they're like, hey, if you're a fan of 40K, you might recognize this. Like, I wonder what that's about. So that looks kind of promising. And I don't know if you guys, I know who we are. So I know you've seen the Shadow Wars Armageddon terrain and what it looks like. But that terrain, those platforms and those phallic-like factory smokestack things, those are all.
You say phallic?
I did.
I word, just making sure.
Yep.
It's fast balls and phallics.
Yep, all day. Those sets are actually going to be available individually as kits. So the Shadow War Armageddon box comes out first. It'll have a bunch of terrain in it. The whole box itself, along with a squad of scouts and a squad of orc boys, is $150, right? But the next week, according to the White Dwarf, there will be multiple terrain box releases that, if you add them up, are already more than the whole box for Shadow Wars Armageddon. So again, GW's doing the bundle thing, trying to entice us to buy, but there will also be individual kits available in the near future as well. And that, besides the Sky Dwarfs that we all know about, is pretty much all that's on the horizon this week going into next.
Cool. On the computer side, we've got, of course, Dawn of War 3 went on pre-order for Steam while we were heading out to that week of heading out to Adepticon. So if you want to pre-order it, go ahead and pick it up. And then Inquisitor Martyr added like their first really big update since it initially went with the open alpha. And they've included like a feature called the Emperor's Tarot. So if you're like grinding for a particular piece of loot, of dropped loot gear that you really want, you can cast the Emperor's Tarot and it'll kind of give you a hint where that particular piece of loot is. So that's pretty cool because then you don't have to sit there and like grind on everything. And for those of you who don't know the Inquisitor Martyr game, that's kind of the Warhammer 40K version of Diablo. It is a heck of a lot of fun. Even in the alpha as initially released, I haven't had a chance to play this the new update yet. But even in the alpha as initially released, it had a lot of content. I think my initial session, I played it for almost 2 hours. So it is a heck of a lot of fun. It'll be more fun, obviously with partners, multiplayer and everything like that running around. But I feel like it shows a lot of promise. It got a lot of negative reviews, unfortunately, on Steam and everything, because I think a lot of people didn't understand that it was an alpha release. So it is very buggy. It does crash on occasion and everything like that. And if you're looking for an experience where, the entire game is polished and everything is finished, it's probably not for you right now. Just hold out until it comes out. But if you want to get a sneak peek and start getting your tactics down and your game on and everything, it's in public alpha right now, which is really, really cool. And they're taking feedback and everything.
Well, that's good news. I am literally going to lose my life to that game. I think we call it a time vampire.
Yeah, that is a good description of it.
It's going to be a problem, but hey, look for some Twitch streams in the future. I might be transitioning to full-time video game streaming if this is a thing. It's not, I mean, like, dog, recently, real talk, I got back into Diablo 2 like 3 days before Adepticon. Like, I don't know what happened. I was watching Twitch, watching some guys play it. Literally went online to Blizzard, downloaded it, started playing it, have a level 85 barbarian, and then I flew out to Adepticon, got my account temp banned. Perfect timing. Back to the old habits. And now you're telling me Martyr's coming out and my addiction is at like high levels. So goodbye, guys.
Yeah. See you in the afterlife.
Yeah, it was nice knowing you.
Yep, not gonna make it. Is I guess is that it for content before we bang down an hour and a half of video of interviews?
I mean, that's the big stuff. Unless you want to talk about, lighting armies on fire again, I guess.
No, man, I ain't about that negativity.
Nope.
Adepticon 2017, biggest Adepticon yet. Most positive experiences. The entire Long War in the same room for the first time in a year, and now with Jason Craze added to the mix. First time we got to meet him face to face. Interviews from him, Kelly Freiborg, and our boy Chris. How do you say his last name?
Mehrstedt.
Man, I always look at it written and I can never say it.
The 40K coordinator.
The 40K coordinator, not to be confused with the Fun Ship Cruise coordinator. That is Juice.
Yo, true story. I've got a couple funny things, but either way, we can save those for later because, guys, we usually don't get into the chat that is happening while we're recording. Usually it's just those guys that are just entertaining kind of themselves, talking back and forth while we do our thing. But I just want to put this out there because we don't go back and listen to your old podcast or anything else. Dorn Jr. just chimed in. I've been kind of sitting on this for a little bit. He's like, guys, I just want to say, I just recently was catching up on all the episodes, and just recently listened to last year's Adepticon podcast. And after the post podcast, and he was like, you guys are 100% more hyped and pumped after this year's Adepticon than last year. So that's if that'll tell you where the hobby is, and where we are at with 40K, the future is bright.
How does it get no higher than 100%, Rob?
How many people are loving the hobby right now? Raise your hand.
Raise your hands.
Turn your cameras on and then let us see you raise your hands.
It don't get no higher than that.
Yeah. Well, so let's do a commercial break and then hit up these interviews.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans. Enjoy.
elricshobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elric's Hobbies. elricshobbies.com.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at dicehead.com have rewarded us all with an extra 6% discount on all dicehead.com merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
Our guest is Chris Mehrstedt, the organizer of the 40K side of things at Adepticon. What's up, Chris? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, how's it going, boys? Still recovering. What a weekend. What a week.
I believe the term "you're telling me" comes into play here.
Yeah, I feel like it hadn't stopped yet.
Yeah, it's like, yo, what a great weekend. It's, dog, it was a week.
Yeah, totally.
God, I hope it stopped.
Hey, Chris, so we drove in on Tuesday and then left Monday. Is that about the same time schedule you guys are at, or are you guys literally in even before that?
Yeah, no, I was in Tuesday evening, and then we were out Wednesday afternoon-ish by the time we got all wrapped up at the hotel.
Wow. It's a full 7 days for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, can you believe it's only been a year since the last time you were on our show and we talked about this?
Yeah. It's it goes quick. I mean, we start planning in August, and before you know it, it's here.
Man, that's like the whole year you guys are just working on it. And so let's jump right into it, man. Let's talk about it. Anybody doesn't know about Adepticon, which would be insane at this point, why don't you tell them like what Adepticon is, how many years you've been doing it, how many people showed up?
So this was the 15th year of Adepticon. It was my 15th Adepticon. I've actually been at them all. I've been volunteering now for over a decade. High level, it was about 3,800 gamers plus however numerous number of guests. I think big plug, you can come see it for free. All crammed into the Renaissance Schaumburg Hotel for 4 days of pretty intense miniature gaming. I guess I can call it 5 days because we had that Games Workshop preview event and all the check-in and everything that happened Wednesday.
No lie, like 1,000 people stood in line to get in that.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just a surreal, just ton of people coming to do what they love to do, which is play miniatures games, have fun, meet friends, have some beverages, hang out, and in general, make bad decisions that are a lot of fun.
Sorry, Kenny. I just wanted to say something real quick. I was talking with my shopping actually didn't get done until the literal end. Like you guys were breaking down the front, and I was talking to Jeff, and as I was getting some T-shirts, and of course, various sizes were already sold out. But I was like, so how'd it go overall? And I guess what was it? There was 3 people had to go to the hospital for excessive drinking. None of them were us, which is very surprising.
Yeah, it's actually probably concerning from our side, right? Like there was, we probably had some folks that probably don't need to come back to Adepticon because if you're putting yourself in the hospital or you're getting picked up by the police, you probably want to step too far. So not something we're proud of, but
if it's not something you would do, that's a public service announcement. If it's not something you do at your house, guys, or at your or at a barbecue in your neighborhood, don't do it at Adepticon.
No.
Yeah.
And furthermore, I'd like to caveat that if that is something you do at your house and at your barbecue at your, in your neighborhood, just stay there and do it. Don't come to Adepticon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Some folks, I think the excitement just got over them a little bit more than they were able to handle.
True story. We talk about it all the time. How, Chris, you just said how this could have been one of the biggest, if not the biggest Adepticon, close to 4,000 people. Man, when you're talking, most of us gamers can be shy, a little socially awkward. Maybe they need some of that liquid courage to kind of get them going. So just feel everybody, public service announcement, don't feel like you have to take it that far. And when in doubt, there is more days that you can get your drinking in. Don't feel like you have to do it before 11 a.m.
Yeah, without a doubt. So.
True. No lie. So let me get this straight, though. You're saying you're like 3,800 people reg, but you're saying people didn't need a weekend badge to just walk around. People just go walk around for free?
Yeah, absolutely. It's free to see Adepticon. If you want to come take a look, if you want to peruse the vendor hall, like if you want to watch stuff, everything is free. Obviously you need a badge once you start to play, if you go to seminars and things like that. But if you just want to come check it out, just see the spectacle, it's free to walk in the door, and that's pretty unique.
That is unique. I actually didn't realize that. That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Friday night, Saturday night, easily rocking 4,000 people in the hotel, and probably a lot more than that. It's hard to count that number.
So that actually, you just touched on something I wanted to talk about because I picked up the VIG swag. And I actually did an unboxing on it. It's going to, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll probably be up on YouTube that folks can check it out. But one of the features of the VIG is that you get to line up first to go into the vendor hall. So yeah, you might not need, a badge to go into the vendor hall, but if you want to get in there quick and you want to get the good stuff, you don't want to get sold out. Why don't you explain more about that?
Yeah, so VIG, right? It's kind of as it sounds, right? Very important gamer. It gives you special access to a whole host of things, right? It's probably a podcast in its own. But yeah, you get a special line for picking up your badge, which is awesome because there's 3,799 other people that are trying to do the same thing. So being able to jet through the super line is always fun, as well as you said, really early access to the vendor hall, as well as a swag bag that might be too much to carry. It's more than the normal swag bag that everybody gets, and everybody raves about that one, and the VIG bag's actually bigger. So, bang for the buck. If you don't like lines and you like extra stuff, it's worth the
the stuff you got was already the price. It was already the price.
And I believe I said, like, when I got my VIG stuff, I was like, well, I'm done with Adepticon. I got all the prize support.
It's all right here. And that bag is literally the size of a holiday turkey that would feed like a family of like 10 people easily. It was bigger than a cat, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even, I don't even remember everything that was in that thing, but you know, it's a deal of a lifetime when you think about it. And you know, I'm sure your viewers will take a crack at that when you do your unboxing and show them everything top to bottom.
There was a lot of it ran the gamut from like manufacturers. And of course there was coupons and stuff in there that really didn't matter at this point, you know, hey, come to our booth and blah, blah, blah. But you know, at that point it doesn't matter, but it goes to show you that there's always stuff. And you guys even had last second stuff on your main page for some of the folks that didn't make it into the VIG bags. They were like, hey, VIG gamers, come by our booth and we'll give you this. So even though there might not be extra stuff in that bag, there was still opportunities as long as you walked around and checked out all the vendors. Yeah, well, and I mean, that vendor hall was huge. You know, it's hard to describe on the radio, but I mean, that vendor hall was absolutely massive. Mm-hmm. And every single one of those vendors wants to, you know, basically market to you as an Adepticon gamer. And we probably have, you know, one of the best crowds, right? You got folks that are willing to come to Chicago, you know, stay up in a nice hotel, hang out for 4 days playing games. So you got travel, hotel, lodging, food, all that stuff, right? This is the core audience that these guys are looking for. So they are banging our doors down to basically get in the place, and they are happy to make sure that you feel welcome. So that's what drives that bag. It's amazing.
Chris, I want to talk about something. So you are the head rules judge guy in charge when it comes to 40K on the floor, right?
Yeah, I think you just call it 40K coordinator.
There it is. You are the guru when it comes to 40K, the 40K universe. How many events would you say that happened during that time from Thursday to Sunday, 40K wise?
40K wise, let's see. We had Thursday we ran 3. Friday with your event there was 6. Saturday we had obviously the team tournament was just a flagship, but we had a Zone Mortalis and a kill team running behind that, and then another kill team and combat patrol running behind it on Sunday. So whatever that comes down to, 15, 16 different events.
That's unreal. So I wanted to lay the foundation with that knowledge right there. We ran one event that lasted like 9 hours on a day, right? And I'm walking around, played in the champs, had a great time, played 4 games, walked around, shook everybody's hand. We tried to keep everybody high spirits, have a great tournament for our event, and then played in the singles. I want you to know, bro, midday on Friday, no voice. Gone.
Done.
I'm talking about done. Can hardly speak. And I want
an interpreter.
I needed for the team event, no lie, for all 5 of the games, Kenny, Rob, or Haspil, I would be like, Haspil, tell them that I'm going to make this psychic check. And he would have to relay that information because my voice is gone. I want everybody to know how much of a boss you are, because you sounded like, you know, the introducer of Magic Mike 3XL when you were talking on during the award ceremony. You killed it. I want you to know, like, I saw more energy, more everybody else is spent in the entire room, and you brought it, dude. So I commend you for keeping that up.
I appreciate it. You know, by the time you're at that point, you're riding high on nothing but endorphins. So you're like, hey, we're there. Sweet.
Riding high.
Bring it on.
I got the soundbite right here. Chris rides high.
Hey, let's talk about growth real quick. So obviously we talked about, hey, 3,800, 4,000 people, that's good numbers. But what about, we personally saw a bump in our doubles numbers. How across the 40K land, Mr. Coordinator, what were you seeing out there as far as numbers? Yeah, I mean, I think, high level, strong across the board, right? I mean, championships ran with a little over 200 people. We had another 20 people in a side event called Gentleman's GT. So, I mean, you had 220 people on a Thursday night. So, Thursday rocking 220 people playing 40K is pretty nice in Chicago. You guys obviously had a nice bump on your Friday attendance. We saw a nice bump on the friendly, offset that with the Maelstrom, Kill Team, like all those other events.
you rack it together, there's probably another 400 players playing on Friday. And then the team tournament was, at one of its bigger moments. I mean, we had 106 teams, so that's 424 players in just the team tournament. And then across the hall from us was Horus Heresy, and they blew the doors off of, we had to basically kick everybody that wasn't 40K out of the hall. And it was either, 40K or 30K or Apocalypse going in that whole section of the hall. Whereas 2 years ago, we used 2/3 of it. So, it was pretty huge. Like we've actually hit 40K capacity for that building. And
oh my God, are you about to outgrow this venue already?
Oof.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to have some conversations about what that looks like. We have to tamper the growth a little bit and kind of let our volunteer staff catch up because we need more people.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, that's crazy because you get the old place we were at in Lombard was amazing. Love that hotel. Love the location. It was sad that you guys had to leave it because that was like the majority of our Adepticon memories were at that Lombard facility.
Yeah, you were there for so long.
Yeah.
And it's also, it's obviously awesome that the growth puts you in a new venue, but it's insane to think that like right now, vocal minority that is telling us that the sky's falling, 40K is the worst, Age of Sigmar is the worst, it's all garbage. And it's like, bruh, numbers don't lie. People are buying more Age of Sigmar models than 40K models. But Age of Sigmar had insane growth. 40K still had growth.
Mm-hmm.
The community is working together. There's loose alliances everywhere. But like I think the borders between these different groups that are running 40K in different ways, I think those lines are blurring more and more and more as we go on. And events are getting bigger and bigger, especially with GW showing up.
Yeah, that was the gist of my opening closing statements, if you want to call it. That's how I let off my closing statements. Like, if you're playing miniature wargamings, Games Workshop specific for this little segment, because that's obviously what I interact with, but your community is strong. It may not feel like it because of folks out there complaining, but, we had well over 600 people playing Games Workshop games on Saturday when you throw in Age of Sigmar, when you throw in Horus Heresy. The GW Design Studio played in the team tournament this year, so they came out into the world. They actually played in the tournaments. They got in the trenches. They played 5 games with the community to get a sense of what's going on. They ran a preview event kind of showing some of the stuff coming up on Wednesday night. They were in the trenches playing Age of Sigmar. They were, those guys worked. Those guys worked because they were not only playing in the tournaments, they were running seminars, they were answering questions, they were shaking hands, they were talking to people. It was amazing how engaged they were. If you think your community's in a bad place, you just need to wake up and take a look around because there's a lot of people doing a lot of cool stuff.
Like I can 100% agree with that. I was pretty flabbergasted, when I went back and I started getting all the articles ready for the coverage, the basically a week's worth of coverage we did on Spikey Bits that, my coverage of y'all's event started in earnest in 2010. So I literally had been covering it for 8 years and, going for obviously more 10 to 12. I can't exactly remember, but it's pretty awesome when you consider it's a 15-year-old event. And, I've been able to witness its growth and be a part of it for a large majority of its life cycle. It's really awesome.
My God. To think about it, this is my 10th year at Adepticon. Like I always look up because I have a trophy on my wall, Chris, that's been on my wall since 2007. Literally, you can see it in every one of my videos on YouTube. It's literally Adepticon 2007. It says best heretical team. That's how I remember how long I've been going to your event. Getting in a car with my boys, hearing about this, new event that's crazy. The 4-man teams, we rolled out, we got best heretical, and I've been riding high ever since. And in the course of the 10 years I've been playing in your event and your 4-man team, got best heretical last year again. So that was like as high as I can get in my 9th year. We won best team in 2011. And this is our 10th year. We brought the theme as hard as we could. So did everyone else. And for us specifically as an entity here at the Long War, we've done it for 10 years now. It's amazing. And I think after this year, we all talked about it. We're like, okay, how can we contribute to the community more than we have been? And I think that sadly, we're probably not going to play in the 4-man team next year because we think we could do more for the community, boots on the ground, reporting interviews, maybe some live stuff, and maybe give up our spot to somebody else because it's you talk about how many people we're playing. you talk about the GW design team, how much work they put in as professionals. We played in the championships. We ran our event, and then we played in the 2-day team event. By the end of it, we were ruined, and still we were trying to cover the event. We're like, I think we can do more, because it's really about these, like you said, the vocal minority of people who think the sky is falling. And our entire job lately has been to undo that negative emotion that's been assigned to this community, when quite clearly the sky is not falling. It's only getting better. It's getting more exciting. Numbers are growing across the board. And I think that's going to be our goal between now and next Adepticon, is a promotion engine, an awareness, like a public service announcement to the community, where it's like, if you're looking for a safe place amongst all this hate that's been coming at us, it's all about getting out of your city, coming to this event, meeting these people, and forging friendships that last a lifetime. Chris, I met you over 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a ride, right?
We've been friends for a decade. Rob, I met you like 10 years ago. Like literally, this is what it's about. Look how far the community has come in this amount of time. So I'm really excited for the 2017 to 2018 promotion and the train that's about to roll out of Grand Central Station, and just bring this positivity, man. And thank you for running this amazing event for over a decade.
I think the thing you got to lock into, right, is if you begin a phrase with the right way to play 40K that's where you got to take a step back, right? Because you can't be right. It's an opinion, and there's lots of them. And that's something that's been core to Adepticon, not only in our 40K, but really in all of our events, right, is there's no one way to play, right? You got the championships, we really focus on the more competitive play on that side. You've got the team tournament, which focuses on camaraderie and building thematic lists and putting together those display bases from the GTs of old, right? You got combat patrol and kill team. Those are nice casual events. Like, you come in, roll for 3 hours, 3.5 hours, you're in and out, you have some fun, you play some games, they're quick and easy, right? You guys are running the long war doubles, which brings a whole different spin on the team side of it. There's the friendly, which is kind of like the Drew Carey line, right? The points are made up and the scores don't matter. Just come and flop some dice and have some fun, right? You literally, if you have a preferred style of 40K, we probably have an event for you, right? And that's to recognize the fact that there is no one way to play this game, right? So, I think that's really been the theme and one of the driving core tenets of our success.
He said literally. I heard it.
Literally can be used figuratively or literally on this podcast.
Ooh, double literally.
It's one and the same here.
And one of the things I wanted to say, Chris, is this is a really good sign, I think, of an outstanding convention. Is I've been to other tournaments and other cons, and I get wiped out, and I get home, and I don't even unpack my bag. Like, it's just sitting there for like a week. I don't even want to think about 40K or look at it. I'm just burnt out. I was more spent than I've ever been spent at this Adepticon. I was just absolutely wiped. And my buddy Dave, who lives in Chicago, we're getting into the Jeep. We've put all our stuff in there, and he's like, "You know what? I kind of feel what I like doing." And I was like, "Play 40K," and he was like, "Yep." and we were literally making lists on the way back, and I'm like, "That is the sign of an incredible experience." It's like we couldn't get enough. It was like had to get more.
Yeah, we saw some dudes after we broke down. It was like Sunday night. It was probably like 9:30, 10 o'clock. We were just kind of wandering back from the hall, and these dudes had set up on this like random vendor hall table that hadn't been broken down yet, and they had like plastic cups and whatever they could find like on the convention floor, and they were teaching some dude how to play 40K, and we're just like, dude, that's pretty cool.
Are you kidding me? I would have whipped out my Facebook live feed right there and be like, "Yo, battle report right now. Let's make this happen." That is the most beautiful 40K story I've ever heard.
Yeah, except the cups are broken, man. Everybody knows that. Cups
are OP.
Yeah. So it was just funny because we're all like dragging. We're like, wow, like that's a whole nother level of heart. Like you're playing, Sunday night after we shut it all down.
Chris, before we move along to another interview, do you have anybody you'd like to thank personally from your staff? Anybody, because I know it's not just you. You make that very clear. Anybody else out there that needs to be honored?
Yeah, I think I have to just say the staff in general, and our 40K core group, like Drew is there, Jason's there, Andy's there. Like those guys were literally working like 6 a.m. to midnight, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Obviously we're done a little bit early on Sunday. But I mean, that's ridiculous. It's like 2 work weeks crammed into one, and they're volunteers. So, don't let that escape you, right? They're volunteering to basically do all this work and make sure that everybody has a great time. But it's not just them. I mean, the amount of hours that go in beyond them, and for 40K to work, we need the vendor coordinators to make it work, to get us the stuff. We need the hotel coordinators to make it work, to get us the hotel. We need logistics guys to work to get us the tables and get the terrain there and get it all unloaded and get it in the right place. I mean, like, to make that whole thing happen, it's just anybody that has put on a staff shirt for Adepticon, just needs to hold their head high, because they brought it this year and it was pretty awesome.
There you have it. There's my man Chris right there. Congratulations on another amazing Adepticon in the books. And thanks for stopping by and doing an interview with us, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Chris, have a good one, brother.
You too.
See you, Chris.
Yeah. All right. Peace out.
And our guest is Jason Craze, aka Slow Fuse from Slow Fuse Gaming on Twitch. What's up, man?
Hey, man, what's happening?
So,
Fuse gonna give it to you?
Fuse gonna give it to you.
Yeah, it was really fun meeting you this weekend. I had a blast because you were like in the hotel room with us quite a bit, and you were talking, and I felt like I was watching your Twitch stream, but
It's like, is Twitch on?
I was like, but you're behind me, and then I was like, you sound just like you do in stream. I don't think there's anything different about your voice.
We totally were not supposed to talk about the fact that I was in the hotel room behind you a lot over the course of the con. That was just not supposed to be a thing. Not even a thing.
I figured everybody assumed.
Oh, well, cover equals blown.
All right, well, we won't tell anybody.
That's it. Only you guys, only you people can do this.
Kenny, I need you to edit that out.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah,
edit that.
I got it, bro. But like, so edit it out, start over. Jason, who are you? This is obviously your second appearance on the podcast. Last time we talked, we mentioned that we were at the very beginning of the Long War Network. That train had just begun. How far has it come since we last talked?
Oh hell, we are now officially the Big Rig Network. We have initiated convoy powers. We have really been putting it together. I mean, it's been a blast, and yeah, I mean, it was cool when we were first jumping it all in and had this great thought, and then we just kept the pedal to the metal, as it were. And I think right now we're cruising quite comfortably. We got a great community, probably the best friends the internet can make, along with the podcast people and everybody that's showing up. I think this community just keeps to grow in the right direction, and super excited, man. And always a pleasure to be on here with you guys.
Oh man, of course. And I think so since then we've also brought on, we've brought on Mike officially. I think when we first talked, Mike hadn't even started streaming yet, and neither was Keyline Prime on our network, right?
Oh yeah, right. It was me, you, Rob. That was it.
That was it. Just 2 convoys, and now we have the legendary Mike Haspil. Sundays, and then to be announced more days as his schedule opens up. Keyline Prime almost like 4 or 5 days a week.
Yep, we are literally covering it, right? Yeah, Ironheaded's in there.
Yeah, Ironheaded. Yep.
Hell, Ironheaded and Keyline held it down like 7 days of straight streaming from those guys when we were at the con. Much love to those guys. They stepped up to the plate really hard, showed and proved, and it really covered all the bases. So I'm loving it.
And if you guys don't know what we're talking about Twitch, twitch.tv, thelongwar.net, the Big Rig Network. You can find us on Facebook by just searching Facebook for the Long War Network on groups. It's very easy. Stay there, be informed. There's tons of updated scheduling there. You'll never be out of the loop. And just as a sneak peek, we do have plans in April to expand the network, and then hopefully yet again, very short after there, the network will have wall-to-wall coverage 7 days a week. Something will be on, guys. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about, first off, it finally happened, Jason. You and me,
oh my God,
Rob, Haspil, Juice, all in the same room. Tell us about it.
I am completely surprised that the universe didn't like fragment. We didn't get like some sort of Big Bang redo going on.
There was a Big Bang redo.
Big Bang redo. License that before anybody else does. Okay. Look, no, it was great, man. It literally felt exactly like sitting here chatting like we do on Discord, like we do on Twitch, like we do in our little after hours chats, just, shooting the shit, talking business, doing what we do. And getting together face to face was smooth as butter. Like literally right out of the gates, I felt like it was, a place I'd been for a long time. So awesome stuff.
Absolutely. And then now Adepticon. Was this your first one? I know you've been super embedded in the hobby with working for GW and all the stuff that you did, but how was Adepticon? Tell us about it.
Cherry equals popped. Yeah, it was fantastic. It was something where, anytime you're going to throw the cash at the floor and say, look, I'm going to take this little vacation. I'm going to do this trip. I'm going to meet these people. We're going to throw these dice and play with these miniatures. And you build a plan. You think, okay, well, if I get all this done, it's going to be worth it. Man, I could have done nothing that I planned in my head when I first, registered, bought the airline ticket, bought the Airbnb thing, got the rental car, you're doing the math and the value quotient. At the end of the day, I could have done none of the things that I planned and it would have been worth it. It is that good of a show. Being able to socialize, hell, I think at last count, it was like 36 or 38 of our viewers off of the Long War Network from Twitch rolled up while I was painting in the hobby area. Sat and shot the shit with me, went out and had lunch, did adult beverages, joined us in the hotel room, all the things that you can want to involve people more than just talking at internet distance, made up for anything I could have wanted or needed out of it. And then you pile in all the other stuff and it blew my mind. It was great.
Yeah, that's so awesome. We try to tell people all the time, just as you just laid down, you think about the money, you think about this, you want to know what? I've wasted more money on random junk sitting in my house that I'm like, man, I could have not spent $1,000 on that. Man, not too much return. I've never once complained when it is a trip, it is a vacation, and especially something as epic that happens once a year, the biggest 40K gaming convention that United States offers. So,
I think it's a step above. I think it's the largest wargaming convention in the planet right now.
Wow.
I wouldn't doubt it. It was amazing.
Absolutely. So with that being said, it was super fresh to, again, get some face-to-face time with you. Now, when you said you were down in the painting area, what did that consist of?
Man, let me tell you, the guys at Adepticon, along with the likes of like James Wapple, his wife Kathy, a lot of the other people that are involved with the Crystal Brush, have made it one of their, big pushes to make sure that there is an open communal hobby area available during the entire show. It literally ran nearly 24 hours a day. They would shut it down occasionally, but I swear 2 a.m, people there painting and drinking and having a good time. It was about, I don't know, call it 15, 16, 20 6x2 tables all shoved together in a big long rectangle. And they provided lamps. They had the people from Reaper with the Master Series paints, a full paint rack of paints there that you could use as long as you put them back. So, and then they supplied, well, they didn't really supply anything other than that. They had water, whatever. But, I brought my painting supplies. I opted at the last minute to drop from some of the tournaments that I was planning on playing in and just treat it as a social trip, and brought minis to paint, stuff that I normally do live on stream. I brought a bunch of stuff in various states of half complete, let's say, and was able to sit down with people, and people would come up just like they do on the show and say, hey, I saw you do this thing. Can you show me how you do it? And I was able to do it live. And I got to tell you, I do a lot of tutorials one-on-one on the internet, but to be able to do it face-to-face is tremendous. And
I think real quick, when you were saying, models in various states of completion, I think we have a term for that I think is whip.
Whip.
You brought your own whip.
I brought the live version of Whip Wednesday with me and ran it live for basically 48 straight hours down in the hobby area. And that was all I needed to do. Had I just shown up for those 2 days, I met everybody I can imagine. Plopped myself right down in the middle of it, made myself at home, and everybody that had to walk through for any of the hobby classes basically had to walk right past and look at what I was doing. Generated tons of conversations, tons of hype for the Long War Network, being able to tell people what we had going on, how to find us. The first day back on Tuesday, we had a slew of new viewers come in that were just people that wandered through at Adepticon and found out and said, what's this Twitch? So it was good networking. It was good friendship stuff. It was great hobby time, and you just can't ask for more. I mean, that's what I do. So to be able to do it there live and, feel like you were such a part of the community for that entire time just made the whole trip. It's great stuff.
I love it, because being no strangers alive, hearing you say that live, literally live.
Yeah, face to face, and it worked like a champ. It shows people that you're approachable. I think one of the funniest things when you go to stuff like this and people have a preconceived notion in their head about, oh, he's internet famous, or hey, he's got this thing and I can't talk to him. And it was great to be able to break those walls down, and people would be hanging out, not saying anything, and I just stopped doing what I'm doing. I go, hey, what's happening? And I just start talking with them. They go, I don't want to bother you. I'm like, man, sit your butt down and talk to me.
I didn't come here not to be bothered. Let's talk.
Dude, I came here to be bothered. Bother me and hang out. You're my friend. Let's do this. And I'd be like, hey, what are you guys eating for lunch? And people would stare at me like for reals? I'd be like, yeah, let's go grab some food. And so we go grab some food. And it was just
Fuse is hungry.
I eat when I am hungry, and I like to go eat with people so I don't have to stare at my phone or the floor the entire time. It makes the food taste better. And it was just great. I mean, literally being able to break those walls down so that people understand you're human, that you're approachable, and that what they see on the stream and on the internet all the time and here on the podcast, that it really is what they get. It's not a show. It's let's be us and let's go have fun. And I appreciate them and all the support they give us when we're not face to face. And so support them back when we are. Just fantastic stuff.
No, you want to know what I need to caveat or insinuate a little bit more or overextend how amazing what you just said was. You are my friend. You literally watch me. I used this line during the team event. They're like, I know you don't really know me and I'm a stranger, but I just want to ask about your family, after losing my father, or, hey, I just really want to say that was awesome what you did for some relief efforts, this and this. I was like, look, I want to stop you right there. We are close friends. You know the insides and out of my personal life. I hope one day that I can learn all yours. We're friends. That's a given. You're not a stranger because you know a lot of information about me. We are friends. Let's work on me learning just as much about you as you learn about me. So
it's like I took a deep breath and talked and never stopped talking, and now I'm done. Let's hear your side now. I want to hear about you, and with that as the intro to this next kind of statement right here. Jason was there at the Long War Doubles. He was dropping in and out, moving around. He was out there scoring some theme, some paint jobs with us. I want to, because that was your first year with the law. You've been a year with us, the Long War on this network. How was that? Being there, seeing 120 plus people at our event playing 40K. I want to know how that felt to you to see, but also I want to hear your honest opinion. Maybe first impressions of painting and theme, and then, maybe seeing the rest of the weekend, how you felt about what you saw there.
That's a great question. I think that the tournament as a whole, when I walked in, I didn't have any preconceived notion, right? I mean, I know you guys are apt to run a tight ship, even though you'll laugh and say you don't do anything coordinated. You guys did a hell of a show, and everybody there knew it. And it was real tight. It was real comfortable. It was immersive. Everybody was having fun. Dice were getting thrown. Models were dying. People were hooting and hollering. The vibe was great in that hall. The fact that you share that hall with basically the whole show, right? The vendors are right next to us. For people that didn't go to get a feel for this, there's a huge open convention hall. On one side of it is kind of the open gaming side, smaller company tournaments, build and takes, things like that. Then in the middle of this big hall, you've got all the vendor booths. And then on the far right of this hall, you've got all of the 40K tournament stuff. And then there's other rooms throughout the hotel that have all tournaments for War Machine and everything else. But here in the biggest area, you've got everything 40K going on every day. So you walk in, and in this area, you have the coolest vibe like in the whole show in this one corner of the place where you've got the doubles tournament going on. And all day, again, it made it easy to be there, right? You know, you go stand on your feet on a concrete floor all day long and you get a little busted halfway through the day and you start feeling like, oh, maybe I could go sit and not do this. And no, the energy there was great. Walking around, judging paint got me in front of people to talk to them and strike up conversations, joke. You know, they're trying to bribe me for better scores, you know, just wink, wink, nudge, nudging. And it's all just great fun. You know, we're all joking with one another. And it's like Juice just said, it's like we're all friends. They don't even have to know who I am. You walk in there and because you're involved, because you're paying attention, because you're laughing and smiling, you all share a common bond. And that's true across wargaming as a whole, which I think is one of the things that makes it such a great subculture and hobby. Is we have so many demographics, so many people from different walks of life, all thrown together in this big pit of rolling dice and having fun. And sometimes we get sidetracked with the rolling dice and the serious and the, you know, the shitty gamer syndrome and all that. But I didn't see any of that. I mean, literally, I don't think we had anything that popped up that left a bad taste in my mouth from the thing. And again, that just makes it easy to be there. It makes it easy to immerse yourself in all the fun, meet new people again, shake hands, make new friends. And that's all I did all day. Again, it's like I can't stress enough to those people out there listening. If you have the ability to ever put this on your schedule and you give even half a damn about tabletop wargaming, which I think you might, because you're listening, this is just something you got to come do. Even if you don't participate in the tournament, you got a friend that is. Hang out with your friend. I didn't participate in any tournaments. I came and watched Kenny on Thursday in the championships. I watched all these guys play in the singles. Took part in the Friday doubles. Came and watched again as they did the team tournament stuff. Painted in the hobby area. Walked around, and I didn't have a single minute of the weekend where I felt like, what am I going to do next?
Now, Jason, I want a real answer here on this one. Now, when you were doing theme and you were following our rubric and you're doing appearance, and this is something that Mike Haspil worked a long time on, and we, you know, to build a rubric that was attainable to all skill levels, I noted that your initial opinion on it was like you were not that impressed by what you saw on the table, coming from someone who was like a high level painter who's been not in the hobby for so many years as far as playing and going to tournaments, and your first impressions about how like, yo, you know, the stuff wasn't like people weren't painting these models all individually, making them look their best. And then from that moment, that first impression to the end, how did you actually feel by the end now that you got to see the whole event? I felt that people brought the heat at our event.
I think that, okay, I think you got a little wrong. I didn't come in thinking that I wasn't impressed. I came in wanting to understand the rubric, right? It's paint judging to me and contests regarding art are always tough because you've got to know the way to homogenize everything you're looking at so that it doesn't become so subjective that one person who, you know, woke up and stubbed their toe and was pissed off in the morning as a judge, you know, judges everybody low who might have painted with red, because he's been angry all day and red just pisses him off and I don't want to see it. So I think the rubric was fantastic. Kudos to writing that because it made reading down the list and looking at it very easy to walk up to every army. And after about the first three of sitting there and, you know, reading the paper and looking at the army and reading the paper and look at the army as a judge, you know, after the first three, it was like, okay, now I'm just breezing through and I'm checking boxes and I'm enjoying it. And I'm having a good time with the people that are there. I think that you're right. They did bring the heat. There was a love for the hobby apparent on every single table. Now, the problem that I was having was not a how good do these armies look problem. It was that it was varied, right? You'd get an army that looked spectacular, but was busted from the min-maxing perspective. So you're like, well, that sucks because this guy's painted his ass off, but I'm going to dock him because this is a horrible list. This is the thing I never want to face. And then you'd have another guy, you'd have the reverse where you had like that hobby maniac did everything they could to present this story and this theme with their army. It was fluffy. It was put together to be competitive, but not from a min-maxing perspective. It was just that if I've got these fluffy units, these are the ones I like. These are the ones I'm going to play with. And roll with it. You know, lots of Marine armies that were very vanilla by the codex. And I'm like, man, that's fantastic. How'd you do? They're talking about their wins and we're getting personal about it. And I'm really digging that. I think that it's that there's just a little frustration as a judge in any kind of an art contest where you want so badly when you see something where the army just jumps out at you and smacks you in the face and says, this is amazing. And then it's busted because it's like, wow, that's the jankiest evil cheese list I've seen in a long time.
Or the reverse. Specifically, the reverse is like this guy had an amazing theme score, but he missed some conversion points, some extra basing points, and so he ended up not getting as good of a score as the guy whose army was a little bit more busted.
Right. So I tried to take the opportunity to talk like I would on stream, which was great. I started talking to guys, they'd ask me after the fact, like, hey, how'd you score? And I say, well, I'm going to be really honest with you. I love what you got going on here, let's say. And then, but instead of just using, the coarse stone for the base and dropping some wash on it, maybe, prime that with the model at the beginning if you don't want to do it separate, and just start giving them some pointers, and not too specific, but just enough to say, always build them up. I was building people up and saying, I love what you got going on here. I love this story. If you do this next year, I think you'll find yourself picking up those empty slots for points that you're going to miss this year, because all you got to do is add a little bit to it. And I said, don't go changing a lot. Don't go changing your theme, stick to it. You got great stuff going on, and just try to be a positive influence as it. Because it also helps me. I mean, it's a selfish intent when I do that as a judge, because I'll go through and it helps me reach that homogenous. I don't want to say homogenization is a bad thing, but it gives me that base level, right? Because you're going to work up and you're going to work down, but you need that base to fit the majority of people at the contest. So it brings that rubric in line that you guys had with my own personal insights, so that I don't walk up to the table and immediately say, oh, this guy, what is this? What are these colors? Is this 3-color minimum? I walk up and I first start looking at the theme and what the story was they were trying to tell, and try to put myself in their shoes. If they weren't there, it's not as easy because I can't talk to them. If they are there, I get to ask those questions. Hey, what were you thinking? I bluntly walked up and I said, if you were going to show me the model that made the most of your army's story come to life, what would it be? I didn't say, what's your best model? I didn't say, what did you spend the most time on? I said, if you're trying to tell me the story of your army, which is the model that does that the best? And they would hand me something. And it might be something that I would not have thought of. In most cases, it was something where I'm like, oh yeah, I figured it was going to be that. But sometimes they'd pull out this model and they'd show me all the conversion work they'd done on it. And I was blown away. I was like, wow, that looks like it just came out of the box like that, And so that makes it a lot easier for me as a judge to not only relate, but to give them the right points, just like I did at the table before them, as opposed to coming into it with a bias. And as a judge, I think, we talked about it a little bit on stream with like the whole crystal brush thing. And as a judge, I think you have to watch your biases, and the rubric helped. Like, again, kudos to you guys, because it really put it point blank, black and white. Here's what we're looking for. And
that's all Mike Haspil. Mike Haspil was the engineer behind trying to create the most fair and balanced judging system, because you're right, bias is a big issue. It's always going to exist. You're trying to create something that anybody at any skill level can get their points on, because all we're asking for is effort. It's more like an effort rubric.
Yeah, it is. It's not really a painting. To call it a painting competition is wrong. It's I think you called it the theme points, and that's what it really is. It's how did you approach this tournament from the hobby standpoint? How did you put your stuff together? What were you trying to do? I love that. I mean, I hate to call out particular armies and then not call out everybody's, but there was an army there that was Imperial Guard that was painted up like Lord of the Rings, right? It had the Valkyries were all like ghostly done, like the ghost ships coming in, and the rest of them were like Rohirrim with the Death Corps on horses, and I just loved the story. At that point, it is that you're going to look at that and you're going to find points to give based on their effort to tell a story, and less about their brush technique, right? There was nothing in the rubric that was about, or very little in the rubric that was about, how well did this guy blend his colors versus this guy, and so I think that makes it more open to everybody and easily accessible, and creates an environment where now everybody knows, or hopefully understands and knows, that even though there is a winner in that, or that it helps you, to win, that it also is something where everybody is treated as a positive, right? Nobody there had unpainted models. There wasn't an army that I ran across where it was that there was no effort given. There were some guys that ran out of time and they'd have like one squad that just wasn't based, but they'd tell you that. They'd be like, man, I just ran out of time. I hate that. And you could tell their love for the hobby made them feel bad about it. And that's the kind of energy I like to see at anything having to do with the hobby side of our gaming world. And it is just that effort. I don't care if you show up one week and you only have one dude painted, and next week you've got half of another dude painted. You're progressing, you're showing me what you're trying to do, and I hate to use the word judge in a situation like what we're talking about, though. I will judge you accordingly. I won't be like, damn, dude, how come you don't ever paint your minis? How come you can't paint a squad at a time? I don't know you and I don't know what you're going through, but these guys brought the heat, like you said, and table to table, smiling, throwing dice, showing off models. It didn't matter when set up against the rubric, who was the better painter. It mattered how that love for the hobby showed through in total, in everything from your expectations for how the army played to your expectation for how the army showed itself off on its board. So amazing.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to say with that is, for the most part, it wasn't a true painting competition like, wow, this model is infinity times painted better than the model next to you. There was basically a cap on really what you can do for actual painting. What was there that we were looking for were squad delineations. Where can you get those extra points from? Everybody's models were painted great, for the most part. So they got painted accordingly to that. But that's not the only thing that was on that rubric, was how good your army looked together when it's on the table. There needed to be some conversion aspects of it. There needed to be, squad markings. There needed to be other things inside of it to get you those max points, not necessarily just the best painted army. There's got to be. So for example, I thought for the champions, I'll use myself under the microscope, and I'm actively trying to go against that or trying to fix that for next year and the next tournaments I do. I left quite a few points on the table because I didn't have converted models, right? So it doesn't matter. I hit the pinnacle on what I can get painting wise for the most part. And by no means the army wasn't painted to a Golden Demon standard or anything else. But you want to know what the difference between a Golden Demon standard army and versus what I had is very little. What people really want to see also in lieu of good painting is some good conversions, some cool bases, that's where that hobby love, not just painting a model, you know what I mean, really getting in and making it all look fresh all the way around, and not just doing one aspect more than another and looking around saying, why didn't I win best painted?
Right. No, and I totally agree. And I think that's why it works so well, is that it's that entire story. How are you going to tell your whole story? How are you going to wrap it up in a package and show me? And those conversations that I was able to have with the painters, the people that brought their stuff out and spent so much time getting it prepped and ready, was great, because I was asking and they could feel it. I was, walking up and say, like I said, what model tells the story that you want me to know? And they'd hand me one and they'd tell their story. And I got more joy out of listening to the story than ever looking at the models. No matter how great or whatever the models were, it was the interaction that made the difference. And seeing that across every table was the deal. I mean, that's what makes it. It wasn't painters bringing stuff, and then when you ask them about the story of their model, they're like, I want to make the skin look good. No, I don't give a damn about you want to make. What story does this do? Because the hobby to me speaks to me, man. I do it because every model is a model. When you're painting it, you want to make noises and you want to envision it on the board with its movie moment as it jabs a dagger in somebody's back or snipers somebody across the field or jet bikes into a wall. I don't give a damn what it is, right? But I want there to be a story, and that's what the Long War Doubles brought. It brought stories to the tabletop, and that's fantastic.
It's like my man Mike Haspil, every time he moves a Corvus Black Star, he has to make a sound effect.
As you should.
That is the truth.
He had to apologize. He's like, I'm apologize to you guys right now, but I can't move these without making this sound. It was ludicrous. I mean, but that great insight, Jason. Love having a prolific painter, an educator like yourself come to the event, walk away with such a positive opinion. I want to say thanks for stopping by. Thanks for this interview. We have more coming in the future from Jason. He'll be infiltrating the webcast and the podcast more and more often here in the future. And eventually we will be making that transition to Twitch that you guys all been asking for. That is happening this year. I promise you. But Jason, man, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for this interview experience. We'll see you tomorrow live on Twitch.
Yes, you will. 2 p.m. Pacific. And always thanks for having me on here. And yeah, I'm kind of like a bad fungus. You're going to have a hard time getting rid of me now. So thank you, boys.
Jason, have a good one, brother.
See you, man.
All right, guys, we're coming in hot with our guest, Kelly Freiborg. You may know her as @KelFry on Twitter. And we'll launch off with some questions. Kenny, take it away.
All day, every day. Legendary Mike Haspil. Thank you for saving the day.
Legendary Mike Haspil. This is why he's legendary.
I hate you, Mike.
Making us look bad. Well, Kelly, first, right out the gate, let me just hit you with this. Who are you?
I'm just a lady that paints stuff. So basically, what I spend most of my free time doing is painting miniatures. Started posting them on Twitter about a year and a half ago, kind of just mostly for myself motivationally, and ended up with a whole bunch of Twitter followers, which is awesome. and have since started going to a couple of cons and meeting people that are in the industry. And it's been a great bit of fun, but I have no idea how I happened to be in this position.
That is not our situation. We were born nerds.
Yeah.
Born nerds and want to be in this situation. Has taken us a long time to get here. So it's awesome that you fell right in it. Speaking of cons, we just had one of the biggest, if not the biggest con of the year that just happened. Can you tell us about your experience there?
Yeah, so Adepticon is actually the first convention I ever went to in my life last year. I had a blast then, so I decided to go again this year, and I had a blast this year too. So last year, my big goal in going to the convention was to kind of get out of my shell and meet other gamers, check out the scene, and decide if that was something that I wanted to do regularly or not. I definitely didn't get into the whole thing last year. I was a little timid about hanging out at the painting table. I was kind of timid about meeting people, but, you know, some time at the bar and a couple glasses of wine will loosen that up a little bit. So I ended up meeting some folks last year, making some friends, decided to come back again this year and played in a tournament again for the second time, the Age of Sigmar tournament, which was a blast. And again, met a bunch more people and had a really, really, really good time. I would recommend everybody go.
So wait a second, Kelly. If I'm to get this right, you had some of the same worries that a lot of just normal gamers and everybody else have. Like, but you're a woman, isn't there? I think that was kind of like a topic of conversation this weekend. You know, we have a lot of people that come on our show or that are fans and followers and friends of ours that just can't break out of their shell maybe and get to that Adepticon, get to that major event, and realize that it's not necessarily for the game itself. It's for the social atmosphere. It's for the experience. It's for everything else. But you yourself found you had some of those same issues.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, I'm actually a pretty sociable person in my personal life, but when you get to a place where you don't know anybody and there's literally thousands of people around you, it's pretty overwhelming. One of the things that I found that's really great about Adepticon is that it's a fairly isolated venue, even though it's a really big event, and everyone's kind of stuck there. So you really get this great opportunity to meet people because whenever people aren't gaming, they're really wandering around. And the thing that I found last year that I was really worried about, I was worried about people being, you know, concerned about my gameplay and competition. And I was worried about not having anything to do in between games. And what I found is people are really sociable when you get to talk to them. And that, you know, everyone who's playing the games for the most part is like wanting to have a good time playing the games. So it's really a blast when you get into it. But yeah, it's overwhelming. And it took me some time. Like I said, you know, I didn't do everything last year. So I tried to make a goal for myself to introduce myself to more people this year since I felt a little bit more comfortable and, you know, go venture out to the painting table and actually paint at it like a real person.
That's something that's interesting because, you know, going back to the fact that you're obviously a lady, it almost seems like you had the exact same experiences that men have.
Yeah.
So, So you mean what you're telling me is that gaming's for everybody?
It is for everybody. I was actually just talking with a friend about this earlier tonight. Being a lady in my life in general too, you run into kind of weird situations here and there all over the place, whether it's gaming or not gaming. And one of the things that I ran into a lot at all the gaming events I went to is that really gamers tend to be a lot more open and polite and friendly than people you generally meet on the street or people that you kind of run into in your job at your daily life, just because everyone kind of knows that we all have this one thing in common. That's a really important thing, I think. So everyone has a really good time talking to each other.
To touch on that, I think a lot of times, especially as a dude, you're interacting with a lady, you're almost like hiding this dark secret of how nerdy we are, that we legit are making and manufacturing toys in our Beats labs.
Yeah, dude. A couple of years back, maybe it was a couple of years, Goat Boy had that comic, that webcomic he used to do. And he had one where this guy's out on a date and the lady asks him, like, what are his hobbies? And he just pauses. And she goes, what's wrong? And he's like, nothing, just doing the math if I tell you the truth.
Yeah. Even in my day-to-day experiences. It's one of those things that I didn't really grow up doing a lot of. I had a kind of a long-term ex that I was with, and he knew that I was into fantasy type stuff and art and history and all these things. So he was the person who was like, hey, do you know about D&D? Do you know about Magic cards? Do you know about Warhammer? All these things. And Warhammer and all of the fantasy and space style wargaming really kind of hit home for me, just with the painting and the hobbying and the playing, all that stuff I really liked. So I had to kind of, I wouldn't say, but really it was like come out to my family and my coworkers. Now that I'm everybody's kind of boss at work, it was a nice time to be like, by the way, guys, I paint tiny little models on my spare time.
Yeah, I like that you address that. Sorry, Robbie B. Some people look at me and they come over to the house or whatever, and they're like big gamers, and they're like, and this is even when I was single, you know, they say, oh, you keep your models out? You don't hide them? I'm like, bro, do you see this tattoo? Like, this is what I do. Like I'm meeting new people and I'm talking about it. So it's so cool that you decided that this is what I'm going to do. This is what I like to do. So now it's just kind of time to let everybody know instead of keeping it a secret.
Yep. It's been like, I brought models that I painted into work and stuff, and I have my coworkers sitting there going, how is this physically possible to do this? And I'm like, it's a lot. It takes a lot of time.
Magic is at step one.
I'm actually magical, guys. That's what happens.
Tom Cruise and magic.
Yep. All of that.
I have a question for you, because you mentioned that you went to Adepticon last year for the first time. So I've noticed something over the past couple of years, and it definitely came to a head at this event. What did you think of the amount of attendees that were actually female and actually participating in the events this year to just last year? Did you notice any difference?
Yeah. So last year, in the event, there were 40 players, and I think the only 2 girls that were gaming were Andrea and I, in the Age of Sigmar event, which was great. It wasn't a super huge event, and it was a lot of fun. But this year, I think there were 6 girls playing out of 120 in the Age of Sigmar event, and I know there was significantly more in the team event, which was great. I think everyone has kind of been trying to make an effort to get more ladies into the hobby and be a little bit more lady friendly. I was talking to someone a couple days ago about more models being available that aren't just big dudes in armor and ladies with their boobs out, which is great for ladies to want to paint. It's kind of just another thing where it's like, it's a little bit more relatable and you can kind of get into it. It's a little kind of different scene, if you will. But
yeah, you want models that are relatable. Like, I only paint fat dudes with big arms. That's why I like Nurgle. Totally.
Have you checked out a Bombshell Miniatures line?
I have. They have great stuff. And I like those, and I also have been kind of getting into some of the chibi stuff just because it's crazy, and I like to do it as sort of a break from my regular wargaming things. But you know, I generally I like to think if I were going to fight someone, I probably wouldn't be topless. So having someone who has some clothes on is pretty cool to be able to paint.
Look, it's impossible to fight naked. I've tried
it. I'd be too worried the whole time. I mean, there's a lot going on there.
You definitely need pants on at the very least.
Right.
Some sort of pants. Just
sorry, Robbie B. There was a set of memes or whatever on Facebook that I was looking at, and one, it was the 2 of the most famous that I can remember was somebody rolling a 1 or snake eyes and failing a 3-inch charge, and it's like, my wife having a baby finally feels the pain that I know all too well when I roll snake eyes on a charge or whatever.
Finally understands real pain.
Yeah. So then the other one relative to this topic was, I think it's from WoW or something like that. And it shows this female in level 0, basically no armor. And she actually had armor on, but it was like the weakest of all armor. It's what you start out with, right? And then it showed the same chick, like epic level 80. And she is like the holiest of all armors that is untouchable. And she's basically naked.
Yep.
But funny how that works out.
That's and I feel like overall the gaming industry has been overall just trying to become more cognizant. I felt like Skyrim did it pretty well, where armor was armor.
Yeah, it's a lot more practical where you live in the tundra and you're going to go fight this giant beast in the snow. You're probably going to wear a shirt.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that new, and I know I'm gonna butcher this name because I couldn't get it right the whole weekend, but Shadespire, right? That new GW game, isn't that Stormcast a female model?
Yeah, they have a female Stormcast, and she's actually got a realistic Stormcasty outfit for a lady. She's not wearing a guy's outfit with like 2 balls stuck on the front of it.
Nice. Quick question: is she in heels? Because that's like my pet peeve.
No, she's not.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well,
no, how can she run? How can she run? She's a lady. She's not running in heels like every Transformers movie that has come out. Like, what is going on?
Ladies can run in heels, but we can run even faster in flats.
I'm gonna have to like admit something a little embarrassing. How like Inquisitor Grey Facts, right? You guys have heard me go off on how much I love that model. Like I was like, this is one of the sickest models GW's ever made. I hated the box art. I thought it was lazy, and I didn't respect the model until I got it. My favorite part of that model is her high heels. They're so fabulous. Like I can't even lie. Like when I got to them, I was like, well, your heels are red, but your boots are black.
Yes.
Too gangster not to do that. And so I do recognize the impracticality of Inquisitor Grey Facts and heels, but damn, I love them.
This was actually different for me this year because I wore my regular lady clothes to a con instead of lady guy clothes that I usually wear on the weekend. So the last couple that I've gone to, I've worn jeans and a sweatshirt the whole time. And in reality, most days I do wear 5-inch heels and a skirt. So this time when I went, I actually did bring my regular person clothes and it went really well. I was excited.
Hell yeah. I mean, me and Juice wear our everyday clothes when we go to conventions.
I was getting ready to say, I feel like I need to try your technique out and wear some heels and a skirt when I go to a con and see what happens. Like,
I would just bring my heels.
It. It's a great way to meet people. 5-inch heels and a skirt is the way to do it.
Yeah, we Robbie B brought his con pack and it included 1 pair of pants because Robbie B outside of a con does not wear pants.
He believes very mistakenly he thinks pants stack, so he thinks like boxer briefs plus shorts equals pants.
That's actually 1.5 pants.
And we have to keep telling him, dog, pants don't stack. You have to wear pants.
Yep.
Whatever.
And also, if you sleep in those pants that are pajamas, those aren't considered pants, even though they go to your ankles.
Right.
Those are work.
So now that we've got all that out of the way, I would love to talk some Age of Sigmar. We have been trying to make the push. We have all kind of started slowly getting armies, trying to do our things. We've been doing some battle reports in the Beats Lab. Please give us some expert inside analysis breakdown to the best of your ability where Age of Sigmar was, where fantasy was, where Age of Sigmar is at now. And lastly, where do you see it going? Is it going to get better? Is it going to get worse? Is 40K going to be Age of Sigmar? Like, where are you at?
Yeah, so fantasy and 40K were basically really close to equivalent a while ago before Age of Sigmar went out. We were all really excited for End Times. And it was like, oh my God, let me buy all these models. I can't believe it's going to be amazing. And then everybody died. And it was like, shit, now what do we do? Age of Sigmar came out and everybody really didn't know what to do with it. It was hard, I think, for a lot of people that were playing. For me, I was not doing anything on a tournament scene, so it was a little less heartbreaking. I had a whole lot of armies that I had laying around the house that I was not currently playing. And I had a lot of people that I played games with for fantasy. And what happened when Age of Sigmar came out is basically you have this really streamlined set of rules. And you kind of have carte blanche to do whatever you want with your existing armies. So that's to say, you have, in my case, I had a whole bunch of Bretonians that I didn't want to field all together. And in the fall, I had bought a whole bunch of Sylvaneth that I thought were really cool, but could not really be an army altogether. And I was not a super big elf fan. So it was perfect for me. And then I could take both of them and jam them together and make an army. And, it's kind of cool at tournaments too. You get a pretty big paint score and you get a pretty big display score. So the more creative you are with your army ideas, the better it is. And one of the funnest things that I've noticed out of the Age of Sigmar is because you can do anything, people spend a lot of time at tournaments going around and seeing what everybody's army is and talking about the army lists and talking about whatever kind of crazy builds you've put together and why you did it and what you were thinking, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot less kind of min-maxing that you see compared to older games, just because people are having a lot of fun digging around in the closet and pulling stuff out, and then getting into the new models that are coming out and building around what they like and what they don't like. But the big thing that I've noticed is, the rules are much slimmer. It's really quick to get in and play. I've actually had a lot better luck playing with my friends that don't know wargaming, just because it's really easy to give someone a quick rundown of the general rules, give them a bunch of war scrolls, and start playing in 20 minutes. They don't need to read five.
Yeah, that's unreal that you say that, because Kenny's actually almost coined the term. It is 40K is so oversaturated. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, it's so bloated. It's literally impossible to acquire new player acquisitions. Impossible in 40K.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I have actually attempted to play 40K a couple of times in the last couple of years, and because I work regularly and I don't get to play very much, I have said multiple times when I've sat down to play a 40K game, wow, this would be so much fun if I had the rules memorized, which I don't. So you're kind of just sitting there going back and forth between the book and going back and forth between tables, and your turns end up taking 2-3 times longer than they could take, just because you have to look up tables versus keywords versus other tables, and then get the army book out and then check against the general book and all this stuff. And it really, I think, bogs down the gameplay quite a bit compared to what I've seen with the Age of Sigmar side of it now. And I know that they have said they're coming out with General's Handbook for 40K, so I hope they do a little bit of slimming on the rule set and kind of fine tune how the war scrolls work and how the tables work and how the army books work and the general book. Just because I've had such a great time playing Age of Sigmar, I hope they can get something similar going with 40K.
That lines up almost perfectly with what our opinion has been of the entire process, the scene.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's
There's a lot of people out there that don't feel that way. However, there's a lot of people who are already like sky is falling, like getting ready to rage quit and burn their armies when they saw that, the open narrative and matched come out of the GW, presentation.
Right, the presentation.
Kind of freaked. But I was like, you know what? When you face 6 D-Thirsters or your 8th game of Taudar, you're like, you know what? This needs to get fixed.
Yeah. This all happened with Age of Sigmar too. I mean, everyone said the game was dead when Age of Sigmar the first rule set came out. They were like, this is over. No one's going to play this anymore. Like I said, we went from last year 40 people at Adepticon, and that was, 9 months after the rule set came out. There still wasn't a point value, which I think was probably the biggest detriment to people playing in tournaments, is there wasn't an official point system that people are really used to points. So when you take that away, it's like, what do I do? You don't have points and you don't have comps, so I don't understand how this is going to be even. But after that was kind of established, to go from 40 to 120 in a year, I think is a great step.
Well, I think the points definitely brought folks out, because just the fact that now you can be air quotes even, which, let's face it, there's never 100% balance in anything,
right?
But it really went kind of a long ways, especially with the FAQ, when the General's Handbook in itself, just clearing up a lot of things like reinforcement points, +1 for being in cover, really helped pave the way. And then the FAQ, of course, even the little Azir app, because I play Beastclaw Raiders, and I didn't even realize that the behemoths, like the the guys with the tusks, not the Stonehorns, the other guys, I forget what to call it right now, but if I take them, become battle line. So like they don't count as behemoths. And I was like, well, I can legally have all of this in my army now. Like before I was trying to make a balanced list, and I was like, wait, this has been balanced the whole time, because it was a little ambiguous how it was worded in the General's Handbook. So
yeah, so they've done a lot of cool things, I think, with factions too, with the new army books that they've brought out. With changing battle lines and with different abilities that you get with certain groups that go together. I know orcs have a huge buff if you make way more than you would normally want to field. If you go massive amount of troops, they get buffs for having way too many troops. A lot of armies have that now. So it's kind of encouraging people to try to field armies that are in faction and to try to field armies that have a lot of models. But you don't necessarily have to. You can, mix models from all over the place. And the benefit for doing that is you get all the best models in then if you want to do that. So people can kind of do whatever they want.
I love that. That's like old HeroClix. I use HeroClix as my go-to example of how simplified rules make great advanced games. And HeroClix since day one was trying to build team rules that rewarded you for the theme. Like if I played all X-Men, what's my deal here? So and they've obviously continued to improve that system as they went. HeroClix, and here we are. That would fix a lot of problems in 40K if you had a huge buff for playing in Codex instead of reaching across multiple sources to create this insane army. Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things about Age of Sigmar is how many different armies you see all the time in every tournament. You do see a lot of the same similar armies, but even within the similar armies, people tend to get really into the themes that they have for their army. But it's not like you go to a tournament and there's 25 Stormcast and there's 25 Tomb Kings. You're going to play really probably every type of faction of army that there is, just because they're not. It's balanced enough that they're all a little bit valid. And people just really get into the theme when they're building the army, which I think is awesome.
Baller. Well, look, we got to get out of here soon. Keep doing what you do, Kelly. It's been great having you here.
Yeah, happy to come. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You don't have to hang up yet.
Click.
Drop the mic.
Yeah,
no, don't do that. Those mics are expensive.
Yeah, don't do that, motherfucker. You never bought a mic in your life if you think you could just drop them.
Her mic is her phone, so definitely.
Definitely, no drop.
No, I got an iPhone 7. I'm not dropping this shit.
Do not drop that. No. That was awesome, though. Thank you, Kelly. Like, literally anytime you got any kind of input, any kind of new models, feel free to contact us. Got lots of places to be posting models.
Will do. I'm going to go to Nova in August, and I'm working on my Zinch changeling conversion to put in for Crystal Brush as a Dark Crystal Skeksis. So that's my next big project.
Oh, sick. Hell yeah.
Oh, Gelfling essence.
Boom.
Yeah, Robbie B and I were actually talking on the ride home of, I think after ATC, that is probably going to be, I haven't made it in a couple of years because it's always a tough time of year for me, but my business is kind of leveling out so I can leave a little bit more. So we're definitely thinking about trying to hit up Nova as well.
Cool. Well, if you guys are there, definitely let me know. And I'll catch up with you before then and let you know how my shenanigans projects are going.
No doubt.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Great talking with you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you guys too. Have a good night.
All right. Well, Haspil, take us out.
Marduk desires not the barren wasteland of your desiccated viscera.